Paddy wife Christine and I have now 3 beautiful children, 8-year-old twins, Leo and Penelope, and 5-year-old Felicity. All of their children have autism. Parents found it hard to come to terms with it. They saw all the signs and symptoms. The early days were really tough. Autism is a developmental disability. It affects their senses, such as taste and texture. It's quite common for autistic people to have beige food, which was happened to Leo. Paddy said Leo suffering from malnutrition also could have PEG inserted into his stomach to give him the vitamins, everything else he needs. You're thinking, and the parents don't list that. A pediatrician said they may have difficulty recognizing emotions, and that thought has stayed with me. Paddy was asking God, why did this me? This their family experience. Paddy wife Christine accepted quickly. Paddy said autism can be light or can be aggressively. Paddy and wife called a specialist pediatric Dr. Kristen Wolfshawn. The number of children receiving an autism diagnosis is increasing, particularly amongst girls. So masking is where a child learns certain behaviors, in order to get by, to hide the anxiety they're feeling behind it. Boys are often more obvious to them, teachers and people around them. Girls see it in their face. Paddy asks, if you're masking it, then surely you must be lower down on that scale because you're not going to be able to mask. Christine Penelope behavior is mimicked, it's learned behavior and copied. There's functional language though, as well, isn't there? Can I have a biscuit, can I have whatever? And then there's also the I really want to connect with you language. These are the things she will find difficult. They also tell Paddy and wife, if you get enough events in the day when they've been anxious and they are masking it. Paddy worried when the kids start secondary school. 70% of autistic kids attend mainstream schools, but often find it challenging, which can result in them leaving or being excluded. If you're a kid at a school who's in a wheelchair, the school will have a ramp, they'll have rails and whatever it is to help that child. Sedgefield Community College, brilliant for both their neurotypical and neurodivergent kids. Amy, special educational needs teacher. Paddy asks kids, did you ever feel anxious or they couldn't cope with any sort of situations? Or were they just totally chilled and happy with it? His answer, it's a flip a coin, it was 50-50. Another said, that autism is really, like, misunderstood. Like, it's about bad behavior. Paddy says eldest daughter, Penelope, gets stressed at times. Also scared of getting in trouble by the teacher. Jack found out in autism younger than 6. It was did not have that condition. Paddy had to see a therapist. He was then diagnosed with clinical depression. It was very sorry. Paddy was meeting Paul Scholes, who has a 16-year-old autistic son. Aiden is non-verbal and had complex needs. Scholes, part of a very kind macho world. They never share anything, never talk about anything, because it's a sign of weakness according to Paddy to them. Paddy, by understanding it, will create a better relationship with his son. Plus to ease some of worries he has about the future. Scholes thought of autism because it had like signs around of things they do. Paul was worrying about the results of a diagnosis in that match. He was terrible because he and also research about it as well. He never told the manager. The first few years it was like it will never happen. He did not believe that his son will have neurotypical, but he accepts it and he's great now. At one point he was struggling, so he thought about putting his own son into research whether autism passed on genetically, which is controversial. He answered a questionnaire before meeting him to measure autistic traits. Paddy looked cures for autism. Professor Simon said the way he explains it to people is because it's there. Result of how your brain develops. We knows that some people are left-handed, some people are right-handed, and that's the result of how your brain develops. So autism is a bit like that. A little bit more complex. But if kids can just say, okay, I'm autistic, and if everyone's just reacting as no big deal. Professor Simon says Paddy's case is that a lot of our genes are inherited. It's almost like a random shuffle that happens at the point of conception. What we know is that there's at least 100 genes that have already been found that are associated with autism. He also says, as a scientist, we're still trying to get the message out that's actually not true. Paddy say it could be the vaccine. Professor Simon says that's why it's important that we can talk about the science behind it. It helps to dispel some of these myths and also, again, to destigmatize autism. Paddy says one of the most obvious signs of autism is repetitive movements or sounds, known as stimming. Paddy told his wife Christine the results of the questionnaire. The ACT test measures autistic traits. A neurotypical person would score between 15 and 17 out of 50. Christine scored 36. Christine scores more than Paddy. He then says she will get diagnosed if she officially autistic. This can help tell their 3 children because obviously we haven't told the children that they're autistic yet. It can help the situation. You're just like mummy. Paddy also says how good the wife is as a mum. Christine has arranged for us to go visit a social enterprise that supports adults with autism. Social media possibilities, and I just thought it would be really good to go and have a look around because it's somewhere then autistic adults can go to kind live an independent life, but they've still got support and care there as and when they need it. The services are like supported living, like the apartments. Day services, hence the guys here working with the animals. Poor Sabelites have funded 27 new flats. Luke, we also get the chance to meet 24-year-old Maddie. She says possibilities were my advisors that got me help with setting her own dog boarding business up and finding a job at Asda. She did the stocking shelves. Paddy also did that in Morrison's. Maddie enjoyed talking to audience and managers in the office. She also works in a cafe. Paddy asks if she will like to live alone. She said, I have a boyfriend. How they will live together in the future. Boyfriend is 31 years old. Christine came to Cambridge to find out about the ACT test. She met up with Professor Simon. He said that even if you have a high score on ACT test does not mean you have autism. It also does not mean you need a diagnosis. Simon also said a lot of women and girls who might be on the spectrum do try and hide it. Not just on the questionnaire, but they might be trying to hide it right through their lives. Christine said if she being completely honest, she feels like that her whole life being a fake. This is because she mirror whoever I'm around or act in a way that I think is considered like everybody else. To try and fit in. Christine also said that school was very hard for her. She left at 14. She had an eating disorder, but now she understands it more. It was never to do with body image. The texture, smell, taste, everything around food, she just didn't like it. Professor Simon said it's a sensory aspect. A lot of girls, when they've got very unusual eating disorder, but now she understands it more. It was never to do with body image. The texture, smell, taste, everything around food, she just didn't like it. Professor Simon said it's a sensory aspect. A lot of girls, when they've got very unusual eating whole life being a fake. This is because she mirror whoever I'm around or act in a way that I think is considered like everybody else. To try and fit in. Christine also said that school was very hard for her. She left at 14. She had an eating disorder, but now she understands it more. It was never to do with body image. The texture, smell, taste, everything around food, she just didn't like it. Professor Simon said it's a sensory aspect. A lot of girls, when they've got very unusual eating habits or behavior. This can then get labeled as anorexia when, in fact, it might be, and it gets labeled as anorexia when, in fact, it might be just autism. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.